Okay, welcome back to the channel. It is the countdown to the Rut, the Raw, so it's about 2.5 weeks away for me, and what I'm doing is I'm heading back to New Zealand for a month. So I thought what I'd do is just put a video together, pretty quick one, but there may be some of you out there that are thinking of a trip over to New Zealand, and I thought I'd just give you a few tips and tricks or things that I am making sure to do before I kind of head over. So I'll kind of break it into 3 parts. The first part will just be like the planning, making sure you've got all your licenses, permits, you know what you're up to. The second one will be just a quick rundown on what gear I'm going to be taking. And then thirdly, just a final one just to kind of touch on fitness and kind of what to be prepared for when you do get over there. So yeah, try and keep it quick, short, sharp, but plenty of information. So let's jump into it with the first step of planning. Okay, the first thing you want to do is plan your trip. So for myself, I'm heading down to the South Island first, hunting public land. I'm going to be chasing red deer and chamois. And then my second trip is going to be up in the North Island, and I'm going to be hunting private land for Seeker, and I'll be hunting one of the Heli Seeker blocks. So second trip's pretty much sorted for the planning side of things. It's private land. The only thing I will have to do, which I'll talk about shortly, is my international firearms license. But let's quickly talk about my South Island trip. Public land will need a few things to be sorted for that. So first thing I always do is get Google Earth up and try and work out where I actually want to hunt. The best bet is to use both Google Earth, and also I use the Department of Conservation interactive map, which shows you public areas that you are allowed to hunt. So in New Zealand, there is a huge amount of public hunting allowed. All you need is a permit, which you can apply for online. But first of all, what we want to do is just narrow down what area we're going to be hunting. So I'll quickly show you how I'd go about it for a bit of an area. Okay, that's better. Let's have a look at the Karangarua. So say we're going to hunt up here. Okay, this is an area I have hunted before. We've got the Copland River, and say we're going to wanting to hunt tar and maybe some reds and chamois in this area. We'll go to our map, we'll find that same spot, and we'll just make sure we can actually hunt there. So this should be the Copland, yep. I'm going to put hunting areas on, and what that does is shows you the areas that you are allowed to hunt. So we're in the open area. We've got restricted, it's going to be in red, or prohibited, sorry, and restricted is going to be in yellow. So that area of the Karangarua is okay to hunt. So what I would then have to do, so say I've chosen my area, I'm going to head in here. We then actually have to apply for a permit. So what we're going to do is just going to go Department of Conservation, and we're just going to apply for a permit, which is super simple. Go hunting, apply for an open area hunting permit. And what I'm going to be on is the North and Western South Island. Oh, sorry, let's go for apply for a permit. And then all you need to do is put your details in, the areas you're going to be hunting, and then apply. So super easy, and that covers you for your public land hunting. However, the other thing we need to consider is your firearms. So if you're going to be taking your firearms over there, or you're going to be hunting with someone else's firearm in New Zealand, you do need to have an international firearms license. If you are a registered firearms owner or firearms license holder in Australia, and what you have to do is go through and do an online submission through Te Tari Pureki, or the Firearms Safety Authority. So yeah, it's pretty much going into this section, and you need to apply for a, doesn't make it super simple. An international firearms license. So, which will mean you'll have to go through this login stage. It's an online application, which is relatively straightforward. The hardest part of this whole process, so it's only costs you $25, which gives you your international firearms license. But what is required is a license where you can store your firearms, which is usually, which I believe has to be with a New Zealand firearm holder. So if you don't know anyone in New Zealand and say you're just flying from Australia, you know, hire a rental car from the airport, jump in the rental car, head into the bush and then back, I don't know the answer on how you'd get around that. So if anyone on here is watching it and knows the answer on how you can apply for it without knowing someone in New Zealand, it'd be great if you could put a comment below. Okay, so the first step with the planning, like I said, work out where you're going to be hunting. The use of Google Earth and the Department of Conservation interactive maps probably going to be the easiest bet. You also have to apply for your Department of Conservation permit. And then finally, if you are bringing a rifle or plan to hunt with a rifle over in New Zealand, you will have to get an international firearms license, which is done or completed online. But the other thing to always consider, or to consider at the moment, is the lead time in getting that process. So I've allowed myself at least 6 weeks because I know it has been super slow to actually get issued your international firearms license. So allow yourself plenty of time. And like I said, if anyone knows the answer to how someone that doesn't know someone in New Zealand in regards to applying for the international firearms license, are there any potentially shops, stores, hunting and fishing stores, are they allowing people to put their details down for the allocation of the international firearms license? I'm not sure. Or is it trying to point people towards guided hunts? Once again, I don't know the answer to that. And I'm lucky enough to have both parents living over in New Zealand. So I've got my dad who is a firearms holder. So that's kind of my registered area while I'm over in New Zealand. Okay, if you have any questions on the planning side, please reach out, throw a comment below. But our next step is going to be fitness. The hills in New Zealand are unforgiving, and fitness is key to enjoying this trip. So what I'd highly recommend is that if you are going to head over to New Zealand and take on the hills, mountains over there while you're out hunting, is work on that fitness. Don't book your trip, think you do a couple walks around the block or spend minimal time preparing yourself, because the mountains over in New Zealand are unforgiving, and it is going to make your trip so much more enjoyable if you're fit to actually get around them. So get that plan, get that kind of fitness plan underway, make it intense and really push yourself, because the more time or the more effort you put in before your trip is going to make life so much easier when you get over there to actually enjoy it. So that's one of the huge things. Often I've headed over, I think I'm fit enough, and the hills just destroy you. So we're about 1,200 meters, day 2, and I'm pretty wrecked. But we're getting there, slow and steady. Day one. Ooh, the old pack fitness is definitely not where I wanted it to be, but yeah, slow and steady, we'll get there. So if you've got your backpack hunt trips planned, or definitely down the Southern Alps, it is big country and fitness is key for a safe trip. So work on it, don't skimp on it, push yourself, and it'll make your life so much more enjoyable. But our next step is going to be the gear that I'm taking over to New Zealand. So I know people love gear chat, so I want to run you through everything I'm taking, just so you get an idea of what gear I think I will need to help you potentially for your trip. Okay, let's have a look at gear. Okay, so I've just arrived here in New Zealand, and what I'm going to do is give you a bit of a rundown of the gear that I'm going to be taking out bush. I'll keep it pretty quick, but just run through the bits and pieces that I'll be using and why. First of all though, just a reminder, I've got my international firearms license, my Department of Conservation hunting permit. So those, which I've already mentioned about those two, but I've got both copies ready to go. For my international firearms license, I did arrive on an early morning flight into Auckland Airport. There were no police officers on duty at the time. So what I've done this morning, I'm currently in Hamilton in the North Island. I've been to the Central Police Station and they've issued me the firearms license. So I'm all squared away with my permits, my firearms license. Now let's talk gear. Okay, so what we'll do now is just start running through the gear, and yeah, I'll pretty much run through what I'll be wearing, taking, and a few other bits and pieces. Okay, let's do it. Okay, first of all, let's talk boots. Boots are going to be key for your trip over here. Making sure you have boots that fit boots that are well worn in and you know that you're willing to spend the full day in them. I'm going to be running the lower ranges, so these are my second pair of these. I love these boots, super comfy from day one, no dramas, and yeah, no problems wearing these all day and covering plenty of Ks. So key is to find a good, well-fitting pair of boots that you can throw down the Ks in. So don't buy a new pair and then jump on the plane and expect to cover the Ks. Definitely break them in back in Australia before you head over. So that'll be my main boots for the trip. In addition, just purchased these new bad boys. So I've just gone for some Crocs. The reason I've gone for Crocs, lightweight and yeah, nice and comfy. Great for around camp. Throw some socks on and use these while around the campsite. So running the Crocs. So also in addition to the lowers, I'm just going to be running some Huntec gaiters. Pretty standard, but nice and comfy, quiet. And yeah, I find these a great piece of kit. And finally, while we're on the section of boots, make sure you find some good quality socks. Some decent socks make a big difference when you are spending a lot of time in the boots, covering plenty of Ks. Especially in New Zealand, there's going to be a lot of up and down, gravel, scree, rock, bush, slippery, just wet boots, dry boots. Making sure you have a good pair of socks just to help reduce the chance of any potential blisters. And yeah, I'm running the Kathmandu. What I'll do is I'll put it up on the screen here. I can't quite remember what model these are, but they're around $30 a pair, but they are worth it. Super comfy, bit of reinforcing in certain sections, and yeah, have found them to be a great sock. So cheers to Broken Heart Hunter for putting me onto those. Definitely recommend them. Okay, let's talk clothing. As you would have seen in a lot of my videos, pretty much predominantly run Huntec. I've worn it for years. I find it great value for money and the gear lasts. Yeah, great bang for your buck. As most of you know, the big thing with your clothing is having your kind of base layers and then building up with a layering system. I run a pretty standard kind of setup. I run long johns and just a pair of shorts while hunting. So long johns, shorts, and my gaiters on my lower section. And then above, what I usually wear is just a merino long sleeve, you know, something like this, with a couple, depending on how cold or warm it is, with just a couple layers of the Huntec clothing. So I keep it very simple, I don't get carried away. The main thing I find is to have dedicated hunting gear and then dedicated camp gear. So I always run two sets of gear. One is I pretty much run every day for my hunts, and then I have a separate gear as soon as I get back. I can change, especially if I'm wet and cold, I can change into that change of clothes and then get inside the tent, the sleeping bag, and I'm warm for the evening. So that's my base layering, so just some very basic thermals, my Huntec kind of layers, and then what I'm also running is the rain jackets. This is the Anorak, and awesome bit of kit. Yeah, throw this on, it keeps me warm and dry. So having a good bit of rain gear is important. I personally don't run rain or wet weather pants. Some people do. I just run my thermals and shorts, works for me, but some people may want a dedicated pair of wet weather longs. Another key piece of kit that I do run, I've got just a MacPack Halo jacket. So it is a fully down jacket, so be careful if you get it wet. It is not going to keep you warm. So the thing with down jackets are they're great, they're warm, they're lightweight, they pack down to not a lot, but if they get wet, they are going to be problematic. So be very careful. Well, I'm careful with this one. I put it on underneath, potentially if it's raining, under a wet weather bit of rainwear like this, or if it's dry, I'll just often run this by itself. But yeah, a good down jacket is important, but don't get it wet. But yeah, that one there keeps me nice and warm, especially when that southerly is whipping through the hills and you're glassing away. So yeah, making sure to be able to stay warm on the hill is super crucial, especially for South Island trips where you're doing a lot of glassing, spend a lot of time in one spot, scanning areas. A good down jacket is going to be worth its weight in gold. In addition, and also a decent wet weather jacket are very, very crucial. So building up on keeping yourself warm. So they're my two kind of bits, but in addition to that is also having a good pair of gloves and beanie. So this gear is all new. So I've got a a merino beanie and gloves from Bush Edge. So keeping yourself warm, especially your head and hands. Glassing is the first thing that starts going. You get cold, you struggle to start concentrate, you lose concentration. So just try and be able to keep your hands warm for as long as possible. It's just going to give you that little bit of extra glassing time. And this year I'm also trying these, what are they? Sealskin gloves. Apparently waterproof. We'll see how they go. But the plan will be merino on first, then the sealskins and the merino beanie, plus my down jacket. Hopefully that's going to keep me nice and warm on the hill. But we will see. One of the most important pieces of kit that I could recommend when you are planning a trip to the South Island is a decent tent and a decent sleeping bag and sleeping setup. It's key when the weather turns on you that you have somewhere warm and comfortable to retreat to. So for our trip down the South Island, we are going to be using a MSR Mother Hubba. I'll throw a photo of that up, but yeah, we're using that for that trip, and the North Island trip will actually be based mainly out of a hut. But definitely, if you are going to be backpack hunting, have decent gear that's going to stand up to decent winds, rain, because yeah, so the last thing you need is your kind of tent disintegrating on yourself at 2 o'clock in the morning when it's driving, pouring rain with a southerly whipping through. So decent tent, decent sleeping bag is going to make life, well, it could save your life, to be honest. What I'm going to be using for sleeping is I'm running a MacPack 700 XP Sanctuary down sleeping bag. I've had this for probably 15, 20 years. Still goes strong, still keeps me warm. It's pretty much 100% down, so once again, very warm and lightweight, but highly susceptible to wet or highly susceptible to water. So if it gets wet, it's going to be useless. So importance of having a tent that's going to keep your gear dry. This year, historically I've just been running an old 3/4 Thermarest, but this year I've actually upgraded to an ultralight sleeping mat. So this has got an insulation or R value of 4. It's going to help keep you insulated off the ground. So I'm really excited to give this a go. So I'm running their sleeping mat, even their fitted sheet, and even an ultralight pillow this time. So I'm going to be, hopefully, snug as a bug in a rug. But yeah, good tent, good sleeping bag, good sleeping mat is going to make a world of difference, because it's not uncommon to spend a few days at least stuck inside your tent as Mother Nature kind of lets rip. So be prepared. That's the only thing I can say with that. Another key piece of kit that I always run, and I'd never hunt without it, is my Bush Edge or my twin needle bino harness. I love this thing. So I've got my binos in here. I'm just running some Minox 8.5 by 43s. I've had these for years and they're great. So this is always on me. I've got my rangefinder, and then I've also got just my helium knife just hooked in the back here. So that is always on me. And yeah, just love this piece of kit. It's just so comfy. Wear it all day. Don't even know it's there. But yeah, you got your key pieces of kit right there on you. So if you are not running a bino harness, I'd recommend giving it a go, because yeah, like I say, I wouldn't leave home without this. Okay, this is my oh shit bag. Make sure you've got a first aid kit, a bit of a survival kit. This also runs my EPIRB. This is with me at all times. I never leave camp without it. But yeah, this is pretty much everything I need if something does happen. So EPIRB, compass, matches, rubber, first aid kit, a texter, a whistle. What else have I got? Some basic pain medication. But yeah, anything you think you may need if you do have that oh shit moment, in a waterproof bag, and weighs bugger all and could save your life one day. So make sure you be prepared. Definitely have a PLB and EPIRB or some kind of emergency device to let the authorities know if something does happen, because as we are aware, shit can happen very quickly, and yeah, being able to get that kind of communication out that, hey, I need help. I think the one I have is about $270 over 10 years with a 10-year battery. So relatively cheap insurance, just to make sure that if you need it, that someone is going to be able to be there to help you. Okay, just a few miscellaneous items. This trip I'm going to be trying out the Olight P-Run 2. So first time trying this light out. Seems like a great bit of kit, but you're keen to put it through its paces over the next month and see how it performs. So nice little unit. I am also, first time ever trying this, I am taking just a lightweight trekking pole with me. We'll see how it goes, or if I actually like using one. I've never used one before. But yeah, I'll just see how it goes and if it's something I want to continue using going on. But yeah, I'll keep you updated on that one. That's just a cheap little Kathmandu Traveller, 192 grams, and yeah, very lightweight and small. One thing that is surprisingly quite tough at times to get is fresh water. So I've got a 3 litre bladder. Previously I've run 1.5, 2 litres, and it's just not enough. It's important to be able to have a decent sized bladder that if you are collecting water, it's going to last you a while. So you might find a creek and then you have to push up onto the tops. There may be limited water up there. Ensuring you have as big a bladder as you can. So like I said, this is a Black Wolf 3 litre. And yeah, just allows me to carry as much water as possible to minimise my trips on chasing water. So they're 3 miscellaneous items. Okay, the pack I will be running is a Bison 75 litre. Great pack, just load it up, and I'll also be using this as my day pack. So once I get camp set up, pretty much just run all my day hunting gear out of this. The pack's down relatively small enough, and it's comfy. Yeah, I won't be running a individual day bag while hunting down the South Island. On my Seeker trip I will have just a little day bag to use. Not too much more to say about this, but yeah, plenty of space. Luckily this year I have brought my 75 litre. Last year I accidentally brought my 55 litre, so I have plenty of room for all my gear. I'll briefly just touch on the camera gear that I will be taking. So I am actually shooting this video at the moment with the main camera I'll be taking, which is a Sony RX10 version 4. I've recently upgraded to this because I want to be producing 4K videos. So yeah, that'll be my go-to camera. And then in addition to that, the only ones I'm going to be running is a GoPro, predominantly head mounted. And then also a 360, an Insta360 One X2. So I use that for some of my time lapse and just kind of, yeah, it does some pretty cool shots. So these two plus the camera we're filming on will be my main cameras I'll be taking. I also might get a little bit of drone footage, which I've just got a DJI Mavic. I probably won't take that in with me because it's more gear just to carry, but I might get a few shots on the way traveling down and around the North Island. Just finally mention on, what is this? I've got a power bank that I will be taking in with me. The main reason for this is to charge my camera gear and my phone. My phone, just to mention it now, will be my main point of navigation. I do also have a compass and map, but yeah, I'll be using the phone as my main source of navigation. So I just want to be able to make sure that is charged. So we're using this 20,000 milliamp power bank to charge those. And then finally, I'm just going to run this little solar panel just to keep this topped up. Depending on the weather, just have this out during the day, charging this up, and then that way I should have constant power to keep all my batteries running. What else? Finally, we'll be taking a tripod, which is a slick tripod that this camera is currently mounted on. That's what I'll be using for all my kind of setup shots. So get the tripod set up and yeah, take the videos. So yeah, that's pretty much a quick rundown of the gear I will be taking. Oh, finally, the rifle. The rifle I'll be taking on this trip is a Sarco 75 308 suppressed. So I'll be running that for both trips. And yeah, what I might do is add a little bit of footage now to show you that. If not, you'll see it on my upcoming trips. But yeah, apart from that, that's pretty much a quick rundown of the gear. We will be taking dehydrated and some on-track meals for food, plenty of dog and gun coffee, and yeah, just other general bits and pieces like campwear. But that's pretty much the main bulk of the gear I'll be taking. If you do have any questions about the planning process of a trip from Australia to New Zealand, please reach out. I'm more than happy to help out where I can. So yeah, it's the planning, the gear, the fitness, and then the chances. Well, the one thing that we're actually contending with at the moment is the weather. So the weather window we've got is not looking that great. So we're really keeping a close eye on what this weather's going to do and trying to plan our trip around it. So we may have to change plans. So we're currently looking at that. So you can do all the planning in the world, but at the end of the day, if the weather doesn't play game, you know, it's Mother Nature. So remember, New Zealand, the weather is very variable. So a trip can change just like that. But yeah, that's pretty much a quick rundown. If you do have any more specific questions, please reach out either here, flick a comment below, shoot me a DM on Liquid Antler on Instagram, and more than willing to try and help out where I can. But yeah, if you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button. If you want to see more like this, please hit subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next video.